The Smithsonian has collected thousands of giant skeletons and tucked them away from the public. The Egyptian government is notorious for defending their official story of the Giza pyramids. And the Chinese government has been burying several ancient pyramids beneath trees. Hiding our mysterious past and anything that challenges the official historical narrative has been going on for well over a century. My Lunch Break on YouTube has been showing how the construction of several dams have knowingly submerged numerous ancient ruins and archaeological sites around the world.
20 miles south of Cairo, Egypt, we have found sealed rooms. Over 5.5 kilometers of tunnels, the largest necropolis in Egypt. It's time to investigate the area surrounding the Saqqara necropolis, where we are all told that this location contains the oldest completed stone building complex known in history, according to the mainstream narrative. The Pyramid of Djoser, a necropolis. A necropolis is a cemetery, especially a large one, all belonging to an ancient city, the Old World, the previous, incredibly advanced civilization that was here before all of us. So it's time to turn this up a notch. The Step Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara is renowned for its extensive subterranean network, an underground complex underneath this pyramid, where we fully understand here that what we all see is just the top of a massive network under our feet. What we can all see is most likely not even close to the overall structure. If you just removed the sand from Egypt, I personally believe that there would be some people that wouldn't be able to handle the truth.
The Ilisu Dam in Turkey submerged the ancient city of Hasankeyf, which dates back 12,000 years and was a cultural crossroads of Mesopotamian, Byzantine, and Ottoman civilizations. This submersion also displaced 80,000 people when it buried their homes beneath the water. The Birasik Dam in Turkey submerged Zeugma, a major Roman and Hellenistic trading center, including several unexcavated areas. The Kaban Dam in Turkey submerged Norsun Tepe, a 40-level Bronze Age settlement that was continuously occupied from 5000 to 1000 BCE. It was barely explored before being submerged in water. In Egypt, the Aswan dams submerged over 1,000 sites, the Temple of Isis, the city of Aniba, and several other ancient monuments are now beneath over 2,000 square miles of water in Lake Nasser, one of the largest man-made lakes in the world. The face of the Abu Simbel temple was cut into pieces and reassembled 65 meters above its original footprint, while the actual temple was submerged beneath the waters. Philae, a sacred site known as the Pearl of Egypt, dating back to 300 BCE, was submerged, as were several other ancient temples, villages, and cemeteries. Approximately 50,000 Nubians were displaced when their homes were buried beneath the water. In China, the Three Gorges Dam and the Qiandao Lake Dam have submerged over 1,300 sites, including a 1,400-year-old city from the Han Dynasty. Well-preserved temples, roads, and houses were buried beneath 40 meters of water. In India, the Panchet Dam submerged the village of Telkupi and its surrounding area, including a number of temples. These temples were part of a group of ancient structures that had been located in the village for centuries, with some dating back to the 1st century AD. The Belo Monte Dam in Brazil submerged several ancient and unexcavated archaeological sites. The Mosul Dam in Iraq submerged ancient Sumerian and Babylonian ruins. And the Mornos Dam in Greece submerged the ancient city of Callio, with temples and fortifications from the classical Greek period. These submerged sites are controlled not just by local governments, but by the United States and the United Nations. An archaeologist from Boston University, Ricardo J. Alia, explained how UNESCO and the United States have kept archaeologists from exploring these submerged sites by conjuring the law of the sea, underwater cultural heritage, and exclusive economic zones. Laws have been created that allow for salvage and theft, but restrict archaeologist access.
I believe that it's time to rip the Band-Aid off and let the whole world see what's going on. But that's just me. And this is where they tell us that under this structure, there are corridors, chambers, and shafts. We know that there's so much more than what we're being told, where they tell us that they had an extensive restoration project here. And now all of the public can go in and see those new certain sections, but nothing else. A 14-year restoration. In my opinion, this is a destruction project. It's to remove all of the old world things that would blow our minds, and then allow us in there to see what this new thing is that they built. And then say it's the old world, when we all know that it's not. A destruction project that began in 2006 and finished up in 2020. And who do you think was in charge of this? I think we've all found a very interesting character over in Egypt, with restoration being carried out by Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. This is the exact same group that we just talked about with the Great Pyramids, where this group tightly controls archaeological activities around the pyramids, and the oversight by, of course, Mr. Zahi Hawass. The first time we mentioned you discredited independent researchers that have used actual data and technology, which you have never done. And we exposed this, but now you are involved again. So we now have to figure out who you are and what your background is fully. And then we'll continue. Hawass, a graduate from the University of Pennsylvania, has frequently restricted access to archaeological sites. This is all supposedly to protect Egypt's heritage from unqualified researchers and to preserve the integrity of official narratives about ancient Egyptian history, preserving and protecting. We have seen this so many times. They're not preserving or protecting these sites. They are preserving and protecting the mainstream narrative, the mainstream history. This is what they're protecting. Because if they don't do this, it will fully expose that what we have all been told is a total lie. So he's in the business of preserving the official narratives. He blocked independent explorations of the Giza Plateau and denied permits for projects proposing alternative theories. How can he do this? How is this guy allowed to just block people off from researching? Well, his authority to do this comes from his positions within Egypt's government, serving as head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities from 2002 to 2011, and as Minister of Antiquities in 2011, and again from 2021 to 2022, with Egypt's president elevating this guy to Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities in 2002. Now, let's get specific. In 1996, Hawass was the Director General of the Giza Plateau. This role gave this guy direct authority over the Giza necropolis, including the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, allowing him to oversee every single archaeological activity, issuing permits and enforcing regulations. In 1996, Hawass revoked permits for a team led by American researcher John Anthony West and geologist Robert Schoch, who were investigating the Sphinx. He halted their work, citing that he needed to protect the site from pseudoscientists. And he did it again in 2000, where he blocked Robert's team from using ground-penetrating radar to explore potential chambers beneath the Sphinx. You guys didn't visit the site and didn't dig with a shovel. You didn't use ground-penetrating radar on the site. So this discredits your work. He literally did the exact same thing in 2000, where he blocked them off from doing ground-penetrating radar. So his excuse that they didn't go there and conduct their research at the site is now null and void. He blocked them off from using ground-penetrating radar to explore potential chambers beneath the Sphinx. Hawass said that only Egyptian-led missions could conduct such studies. That's great. He loves the Egyptian culture. He loves it so much that Hawass left Egypt and came over to the USA to get his PhD. Makes total sense? No. So we see that a lot of things in Egypt, as well as all over the world, are systematically blocked off from the public. We know that the truth is withheld. It's off limits, all to protect this weird, fake mainstream story, where we can now go back to the Saqqara necropolis and see that they have found thousands of human remains with no exact total of bodies under the Saqqara. This is the previous civilization where they indicate that the number of bodies could be significantly higher as more of the necropolis is explored. And we know they aren't in the business of exploring. And we know that. We already know that there's so many more. We know that there are thousands and possibly millions of people buried underneath that sand. These people are not in the business of exploring. They are in the business of hiding, preserving, protecting, denying access to independent researchers. They have done this over and over and over. There is no denying it now. We all know that they've found more than what we're being told, yet we are told that there are sealed chambers. These have been identified under the step pyramid at Djoser. There is a subterranean complex containing human remains and over 40,000 stone vessels. And this gets incredible. They have found coffins that are significantly larger than human size, and they associate them to animals, where I am at the point where I personally don't believe that they built these coffins for an animal. And that was just an excuse all along. I don't believe they would go out of their way to construct this massive tomb for a bull. I believe this was built for the Nephilim, a giant race that we have shown over and over, and they are buried all over the world, including being buried in southern Illinois. 6 fingers and 6 toes were found. So let me ask, do you really think they weren't in Egypt as well? We all know that we're going to go much further and expose things that have been hiding for far too long, where we have the step pyramid, but just 1 mile away, we have the Serapeum of Saqqara, which we are told houses the oversized granite sarcophagi for bulls. This is the location that was just found in 1851. Our timeline yet again, over and over, where it contains 24 massive granite sarcophagi, 24 of them. These coffins are 13 feet long, 7.5 feet wide, and 8 feet high, weighing between 50 and 60 metric tons, or 110 to 132,000 pounds, and an additional 22 to 33,000 pounds for the lid. And all of this is done, we are told, for a bull. No, there's no way. The mainstream history today is in shreds. It's nonsense. The previous civilization was much more advanced than we are told. They had incredible tools, they had incredible technology, and incredible knowledge. They can no longer just chalk it up to the ancient Egyptians. It doesn't work like that anymore. Do you want to see how you're lied to? Do you want me to expose just how corrupt the mainstream history really is? I'm going to show that what we are told is total nonsense. And there were never any bulls in these massive granite coffins. Here we go. They found these coffins in 1851 and told all of us that they found bull remains there. They say they found the bulls in 23 of the 24 sarcophagi. And this is the story. But when you go further and you think logically, you ask questions. You ask, is there a bull in there today? Is there any proof of a bull ever being in there besides these ridiculous stories that they've made up? And they tell us in the textbooks, and we read it and we believe it until now. Where as of today, the 24 sarcophagi in the Serapeum of Saqqara contain no significant contents. All original contents have been removed. Now, they supposedly removed the bull remains. This is what we're being told now after you ask these questions. And associated artifacts, so any other artifacts that they found with these bulls, the old world items, their texts, tablets, their technology, they removed those also, all for study. For preservation, we are told. Preservation to preserve their mainstream story. All in 1851. Amazing. Today, the empty sarcophagus are all managed by this trustworthy group, the Supreme Council of Antiquities. This is unbelievable. Empty coffins. No proof that a bull was ever in there, where I believe that the giants were found in 1851. I believe these were the old world Nephilim, and I believe that they were in these massive 154,000 pound granite sarcophagi in 1851. And they were found and they were removed. I believe they found their valuable items that they were buried with. And I believe that they were the looters. They were the grave robbers that the mainstream story loves to tell us about. They admit that they take the items and they just give us an excuse that it's all for preservation. It's ridiculous and it doesn't work anymore. I believe that these are admissions that they took their work, and calling it a preservation is just a way to get out of it. So who led the effort to remove the bones of these supposed bulls? Auguste Mariette, a French archaeologist. And before we go on, I can't get over the fact that nobody has ever seen a bull in these sarcophagi, yet everybody just went along with it for so long. I believe that this guy found incredible things, and he removed them, and then told everybody that it was some bulls. He found what we all want to see today, where between 1851 and 1854, this guy oversaw the removal of all contents from these sarcophagi. And then he founded the Egyptian Antiquities Service in 1858. He went on to direct the transfer of the remains and associated artifacts. This is the guy that made up the story about the bulls. And we all trusted this story for so many years. If I found a box in the desert and I took everything out of it, and then I told everybody that there was $1 million in the box, every single one of you would want to see the $1 million that I supposedly found in this box. Nobody is just going to believe me that I found $1 million, and I'm not going to show any money to you. You're just going to believe me. That is not going to happen. Or I just show you $20 and say many of the remains or a lot of the money that I found was fragmented and degraded. A lot of it was just gone, but trust me, all the money, the $1 million was in that box, I promise. You wouldn't believe me, but this is what happened. This is the story that everybody has believed for so long. These 24 coffins are all empty right now. They have been empty since 1854, all funded and directed by the French government. Incredible. Now remember, this is all in my opinion. You are, as always, free to think whatever you'd like. Now that being said, let's keep going. Auguste Mariette. He gets in there in 1851 and he finds these 24 sarcophagi for the very first time in our timeline. And this is the crazy part about it all, proving, in my opinion, that somebody went in there before him, prior to him supposedly finding this. Someone from our timeline, and they knew what he would find. And they sent him in there to be the one who supposedly finds it all, where we are told that he didn't need to open all of them. Because as he documented in 1857, several lids were already open. Someone had already gone in there prior to 1851 and removed things. Who did this? There's obviously a group, in my opinion, that went in there before Augusta and sent him in there after. This guy was a pawn. Auguste Mariette. He had no formal archaeological or Egyptological training, and we believe his bull story to this day. This guy had no training, no experience, and he went in there and saw that these things were already open. Why are we believing his story? It's incredible when you pull the curtain back and really look at who is telling us what. When you begin to see who these people really were and who is putting these characters in place, funding them, seeing that somebody was in there before him, it changes everything. The whole story of the bulls in Egypt being buried in these massive structures, it doesn't sound so logical anymore, does it? Not only do these sarcophagi weigh 154,000 pounds, but they are also placed in an underground complex. The Great Gallery is a long, straight corridor carved directly into the limestone bedrock, lying entirely beneath the surface, all a part of a broader network of tunnels and chambers. They are telling us that these were all quarried from Aswan, which is like 800 kilometers away, or 497 miles, and all brought to Saqqara. We all know that that's not possible with horses and wagons. We are exposing the truth right now, that the previous civilization had to have had more technology than what we're being told. They had to have been able to transport this 500 miles. No problem at all. There's no other way around it. There's no excuse in the book. You can say they hooked it up to Santa's sleigh all you want. Rudolph was in charge of pulling it down the river, and Blitzen was over there chiseling it by moonlight. Nobody's buying it anymore. It's over. Can you even imagine where these underground networks lead to? And we all know that they know exactly where they lead to. We know that they've done the research, and they don't want to tell us. And this is why it's off limits to the public. All for preservation. And what is going on under all of that sand? They are telling us that they just found all this in 1850, less than 200 years ago. And ever since, it's basically been off limits to the independent researchers and modern technology. It's all preserved and protected, as they like to say. Off limits, all to hide what is really going on in there. It's an incredible location for our research, obviously. Even going back to episode 121 and episode 124, creating dams that flooded massive old world structures, destroying them in Egypt and submerging them 100 plus feet underwater, and restricting divers to investigate further. Perfect 90-degree angles in Egypt. That Abe Lincoln's mom, she just wished that she had that for little Abe in the 1800s. The doors squint, and I thought we'd been told that we're evolving and advancing. Where is Abe's basement? Why are there underground tunnel networks in Egypt that have perfect granite tombs that weigh 154,000 pounds? Yet Abe can't get a glass window. What the heck happened? A massive worldwide reset where the 17 and 1800s were the beginning for us. And it couldn't be any clearer at this point. The finders began finding the old world sites and structures all over the world and finding their technology. And we are uncovering the truth today using logic and common sense. We've got sealed chambers, oversized coffins, tunnels nobody is allowed to explore, and the government-run preservation team that conveniently removes everything of value and tells us, don't worry about it, it was just bulls. And there's nothing in there now. Not even the bull bones that they tell us about. And somehow, people still defend this story like it's this sacred truth, and it's not. These same people telling you that the coffins were for bulls are the same exact people who blocked radar scans under the Sphinx. They're the same ones who restore everything for 14 years, only to open up one tiny section to the public. It's the same guy, Hawass, who goes out of his way to protect the story, not the site. Why does he do this? Because the second that lid comes all the way off, and we see what's really down there, the whole timeline collapses. Every single classroom textbook, every museum tour, every PhD built on the same foundation of primitive man with a chisel. This would be gone. You don't hide bulls. You don't lock away pottery. You do hide giants. You do hide power. You hide technology and texts. You hide the old world. And don't forget, this isn't just Egypt. This is all over the world. We've seen the same thing in southern Illinois. The same thing. Underground tombs, massive skeletons, 6 fingers, 6 toes, buried and gone. Covered up, just like Malta, just like Turkey. And just like Peru, I don't believe that Mariette found the Serapeum. I believe that he was sent there because somebody already knew what was under the sand. Lids were already cracked open. Contents were already removed. They needed a name to stamp on the discovery. A fall guy. A story. Meanwhile, at the same time, we got 154,000-pound coffins, all emptied out. The contents inside, they're all gone. They're removed, all for preservation. And we've all just gone on with our lives like that's normal. And it's not normal. I believe this was the biggest heist in human history. They didn't rob a tomb. I believe at this point, they robbed our timeline. The old world existed, the giants were real. The tombs weren't made for bulls, they were made for kings, Nephilim kings. And they didn't just live here. I believe that they were in charge of these sites.